JFC was very close to the numbers that PSBA thought that those folks should pay. So that's the reason for the last request from this budget. I'll be glad to take any questions about any of those items.
So, at the presentation on Thursday,
Yes, ma'am.
and from what we've seen in the past, our percentage is always at 15.11%. And you've got us on here at 19.36%. Why are we suddenly 19.36%?
The way-
And you even said on Thursday that we're 15.11.
There's a number of different ways that, but there's a couple ways those percentages are figured out. One is what we said the other night about the 15% or so. That's based on the Articles of Agreement. Whenever you're looking to purchase land or do a capital project, it's based on the district's aid ratio, and it doesn't take into account actual enrollment of ACTI. When we figure our budget, 80% of the way we divide up how the districts pay, 80% of it is based on actual student enrollment at ACTI, and 20% of it is based on your 9 through 12 population percentage. So basically, the difference between the 15 and the 19 means that you send more students to ACTI than what your portion of the 9 through 12 population is. So
That number can change every year.
that number can change every year, and it does slightly change every year. For the capital projects, though, it would stay fairly constant because your enrollment doesn't factor into that.
Other questions from board members?
I have a couple.
Yes.
I just kind of, I'm concerned with this. I'm a huge proponent of tech. We need it. I have one who's in middle school right now, and he already knows that's what he wants to do. You know, when he graduates high school, which I think is amazing. And I have an adult son who's married and has his own family, and he's working in the field. So I feel like we're putting the cart before the horse right now with asking for funds, and we don't have land yet. We don't have zoning plans yet. I know we as a board have been told that from other administrators in here, no longer here anymore, but that actually they were trying to push us out of the Gettysburg building, and it seems that's not the case on the Gettysburg property right now. So I guess, one, what's the rush if we don't have land, if we don't have building plans? Anyone who builds a home, you know, you have to get your plans, you go to the bank, you know, you sit down, kind of see what you got to work with. It is cheaper to build out than out, you know, we know this. So that's just a thought, like what's the push at this point if they're not trying to get us out? A few other ones I have as well is how many administrators, sorry I had to pull my phone here, how many administrators have they hired already? And how many do they anticipate hiring in the near future once the build's complete? And I believe Sharon Perry is the acting superintendent. Is it still a 2-year term? And will the $15,000 stipend end for Perry since it's to support potential land purchase and building projects moving forward? I don't know if you can answer those right now or not.
Well, to answer what's the push, I don't think there's anything in this budget amendment request that relates directly to trying to advance any kind of building project or land purchase. The items in this budget amendment are related to our current operation. To answer your question about how many admin have we hired, just this past July, we hired 1 additional administrator for ACTI. That makes 2. We needed 1 assistant administrator. And that person was brought in to help run the school on a daily basis so that I could focus on trying to advance the project and, you know, see if we could afford to expand ACTI. And that administrator was also brought in to relieve one of the 2 other people that I mentioned because the business office needed some more help, and she was my kind of attendance secretary. She tracked attendance and some student service things. So this administrator was brought in to really focus on attendance because we have attendance issues with all schools. So he's getting a good handle on that, and he's also helping with PIMS reports and relieving her of some of her duties so that she can help the business office where that help is needed. How many do we expect to hire if we were to build a larger school? I think 2 administrators is enough for the size of schools we're looking at, and that's based on comparisons to other similar sized schools in Pennsylvania. So I don't think we'll need any more administrators. We may need services like a guidance counselor or special ed folks or something like that, but I don't think we need any more administrators. And for Dr. Perry's term, when the superintendents meet on a monthly basis, they made the recommendation for Dr. Perry to serve for a 2-year term. And that was based on, as we looked around the room and looked at the experience of the superintendents with career and technical education and what we're trying to do in Adams County, we felt that, well, the whole group felt that Dr. Perry would be the best superintendent of record for the next 2 years to lend her expertise to what our team discussed.
And I think like with the word that, push, like we have to vote on this tonight, but that's us trying to push things forward.
So the stipend is going to stay after her 2-year term, she's going to get it every year, and then whoever becomes the superintendent of record is also going to get this?
That would be up to the Joint Operating Committee. Like I mentioned, superintendents of record at other career and tech schools typically get a stipend. That would be up to the JFC to decide what that stipend would be and what the requirements would be to get that stipend. I mean, the Joint Operating Committee could recommend to Dr. Perry come up with some goals that she would like to accomplish, to earn that stipend. But like I said, I can tell you she's been a huge help to me just in a few months that she's been in the position.
Just a question for you, if you don't mind. In regards to the adding of a second teacher, we had before us, a cost for beginning in the second semester. So that's not even, if I'm understanding this correctly, that's not even the cost for a full year. Do you have an idea of what the cost for a full year would be? Because although this year it may be starting in the second semester to add a second teacher, but next year we're probably going to need a teacher for the whole year. Would that be correct, or is that not correct?
If we want to continue to serve 40 students in our allied health program.
So is that the mission? I mean, that's where we're hiring a second teacher, right?
Right. We would like to continue to serve 40 students in our allied health program because, like I said, we typically have 60 or so students.
I think it's wonderful. My question is what I'm looking at is, it says this is the amount that's going to begin in the second semester. So
Right.
if moving forward, that would apply for this year, which I understand that's fine. But moving forward, I'm assuming it's going to be for a full year, right? I mean, you want to support that for the full year.
That's right.
So for the full year, would the cost be different?
It would be approximately double that because that's for 1 semester.
Double?
That's the typical, so you factor in the teacher's salary and benefits, that's,
Did you remove the lab assistant salary from, because I don't see that being, taken off.
we would be removing that lab assistant salary. We
No, I'm saying,
have,
shouldn't that have been part of this addendum, taking the lab assistant off to offset all these other costs for adding?
the change in lab assistant position from the person that we had before, the number of hours and days that she projected that she was going to work for the 25-26 school year, that dollar amount was in our original budget. The lab assistant that we have now is needed for more hours to cover the number of students that we have. And so the number that we had in the original budget, that money would be used up around February with this new lab system.
So we're going to go from 57,630 to 15,260 for that second teacher. You said it was double. The second teacher, the cost for the full year.
For the full year, it would be approximately twice what we're asking for the 57.
One-
So it would be.
So it's
about
115,
112,
260.
Yes. That's,
Okay. Does
correct me if
that
I'm
apply
wrong,
to?
but that's about what a teacher costs. But you get salary and benefits and teachers and.
I have a question about this superintendent record stipend.
Yes, sir.
Is Dr. Perry refusing to do the job if she doesn't get the stipend?
She's been voted to be the superintendent of record. I can't speak for her, but I feel that she would serve in that capacity. I'm not, I can't speak for her. I know that she refused to do the work, but.
Is she the one that asked for this?
She agreed to do it based on the conversation we had with the superintendents. The way we've been doing the superintendent record up until this point has been a rotation, and the rotation that was coming up was Littlestown superintendent.
Sean, correct me if I'm wrong, there are several new superintendents in Adams County that probably would not feel very comfortable taking on extra duties.
That's correct. Dr. Perry's been here the longest, at about 6 years. The next one, behind her was Mr. Howe, the Fairfield, and he just finished as superintendent record.
Did she ask for the stipend? I know she, as the superintendent.
It was discussed among the superintendents that she brought it up, and it was discussed among the superintendents that they thought that was a good idea because of the responsibility she was taking on and felt that she was going to provide with her experience.
And there was also an assistant director added who said, what is the cost of that director?
His salary is $90,000
Plus benefits.
plus benefits.
That's probably what, probably like another 34% at least. Probably is what, 30? 60%. Okay. So that, I don't need to be embarrassing, but you were planning on retiring, and then you came back, you got a different contract,
Right.
substantially more. So there's been a lot of top-level administrative additions to the budget. Has Littlestown or any of the other member districts seen any addition in the amount of services or students that we're able to send to ACPI for the investment that we're putting into the administrative end?
I think the services that we provide have increased. The number of students, except for in the allied health program, if we maintain the staff that we have there, that did increase from 28 to 40, but we haven't increased enough. One of the things that we're trying to do, and the JOC discussed at the last couple of meetings, is build the foundation for ACPI to be able to grow. The addition of the second administrator, like I said, was to help with attendance and some other student services and some of the things reporting, which was needed to free up the one lady to go help the business office a little bit more. So the JOC, I think, looked at it as building the foundation for ACPI to grow and a solid foundation.
Yes, you said you wanted to raise allied health to 20 and 40, but you didn't actually do it this year. So why do you need the $57,000 teacher in the second semester if you didn't actually raise it to 40 this year?
Because we wanted to have a solid foundation for the next school year to be able to successfully students in the program for the next school.
So is there a reason why it has to be done mid-year in a budget amendment versus just proposing it in next year's budget?
Right.
As I mentioned before, the lab assistant, the money that we had in the original budget for the lab assistant position would run out around February if we were to keep with the current lab assistant situation. with our current allied health lab teacher, I don't want to get into personal items, but she will likely retire within the next year or so. And her health, last school year, she had a couple of health issues that prevented her from being in the classroom. And we felt like the instruction may have suffered a little bit when she was out. So by hiring another teacher, we felt we could get someone in there, get them trained, get them working with her. She could cover the class, and when the current teacher may have some other health issues. We're just trying to look ahead and make sure that the continuity of this program stays strong. Shortly after I was hired, the allied health lab teacher that we had then ended up with some health issues, and she had a surgery over the summer and just didn't come back after that. She was basically forced to retire. So with the second teacher, we are looking to keep the program strong, and the continuity of education. Where we go.
Not to jump to keep going around the topic. With the superintendent, have the superintendent or the JOC come up with any performance standards, objective performance standards, or performance requirements for that position? It's going to justify the $50,000 second.
Not in writing at this point, but that could happen.
Any other questions at this point?
Have you ever thought to do a foundation to help offset some costs? Like we started this other little foundation to help supplement things with our school district. Has Casey ever discussed that?
That's been on my whiteboard for about 3 years now. And please keep in mind, I'm not making excuses here, but ACTI until 3 months ago has operated with 1 administrator and 2 office people. And we are a separate school entity, and everything you all have to do with end reports and budgets and financial reports and all of that, that gets done by 3 people. And starting a foundation, like I said, it's been on my whiteboard for a few years. It's just a matter of having the time to do everything we would like to do. But yes, I would like to have a foundation for this.
Are we the last ones to vote on this?
Yes.
And what was the result of all the others?
It passed at all the other districts. Onondaga Valley was 9-0. Bermudian Springs was 9-0. Fairfield was 8-0. Gettysburg was 6-0.
Foundation, I would put in, I think that would substantially help not only the budget items every year, but also looking to do such a big project with the potential of corporate sponsorships that would be I believe, tax deductible, and would go to our foundation. So I would encourage, I would volunteer, you can put me down that I will help in whatever way I can. I would encourage you to solicit some other board members from here and from the other participating districts. And I'd like to see us get a foundation going for ACTI. I don't think anyone, I certainly feel as though I can speak on behalf of this board. I don't think anybody on our board, I don't think anybody in the rest of Adams County, or any of boards, is against what you're doing or against career and technical education. I think that we're wholeheartedly for career and technical education and see the need for our county. We just have the responsibility to do so in a fiscally responsible way that considers taxpayers and districts.
Mr. President, may I add something? Sean, would you also agree, once we're much closer to a land purchase, and Mr. Yarger, you might want to jump in, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but as our liaison, and there seems to, and there's a much more serious rendering of what things could be potentially and whatnot, and that there's some growth I know the county commissioners of Adams County have already dedicated some serious funds. I've heard Senator Mastriano, Torrin Ecker, and Dan Mao, all three of them speak very positively about it and putting on a lot of pressure to our governor, who is a supporter of career and technical education. I would like to think, once there is a serious proposal out there, and possibly, you know, a land purchase and so on, would you agree that there's a good chance, hopefully industry and places like Mr. Levan just put something in the Gettysburg Times recently. I would like to think he might give us $1 million or two. I probably should have said that. But that other industries and so on, I think would be it would be to their advantage to really support us. All the the contractors that are out there and so on. Would you think once the community sees that there is some much serious movement, that has a good potential of happening? And Steve, you might want to chime in.
Sean, maybe you might want to talk about some of the businesses that are participating and providing not only money but equipment, and actually have programs that are facilitating students going through the program and into the workforce of that industry and are becoming actual productive employees. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. Every one of our programs has an occupational advisory committee. We're required to have that committee for each program, like I mentioned at the session Thursday evening. And any new programs that we start, we also have to have that committee in order to get the program